From September 26th through the 28th, a series of programs. It's going to take place for taxpayers with limited English proficiency. And we have my friend here. They've been here for a while. We welcome you guys back again, joining us with all the details. We have Brenda Stuart-Luke, Eunkyong Choi, and Clarence Stanley. We welcome you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Eunkyong Choi.
Yes, Eunkyong Choi.
Yeah,
Yes.
so there you go. All right. So, Stanley, you always come here and you tell us about what's happening in the business world and everything. You want to start it out?
Yes, there's definitely a need for taxpayer advocacy, and for folks to talk about taxation is something that no one likes to talk about.
Yeah.
And when you mention IRS, people generally frown. But tell you what, we need to understand how to work with that organization.
Yeah.
And that's why we said let's work with them with this particular program.
Why are people so frightened to hear that the IRS is sending them a letter or looking at some of their stuff? What can they do to get over that fright?
Well, I can ask the IRS to answer that question.
Because I know I used to go out and work with practitioners, community members, taxpayers, and they're all overwhelmed. I mean, they get intimidated by the taxing authorities, right? So because they don't know, they feel like, if I hide, maybe it'll go away. That's the first approach.
It'll never go.
Right, actually would follow you, right? So what we wanted to do is to get the word out. Tax is not as bad as what you think. And if you get the right information, you could work around it. And this is what we are hoping to do, and especially to the immigrant population and LAP communities. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm listening to you.
And we wanted to make sure that they get it, because oftentimes, especially, even as English-speaking taxpayers, it's hard topic to understand, right?
Yes.
But for immigrants, it is like a double whammy. First they have to overcome the language barrier, culture barrier, then all these technical terms. So we wanted to bring the resource to the community, that the resources are there. We want to make sure they know that their rights as taxpayers and responsibilities. And that's what we are hoping to achieve with this initiative.
Right.
And also, coming from the IRS as well, we want to familiarize everyone with IRS.gov, because a lot of information that they may be afraid of in responding, if they familiarize themselves with IRS.gov, their answers might be there, because we have a lot of online tools that people may not be aware of. So at the event that we will be highlighting that, if they owe, they can set up a payment agreement online.
But if they have limited English proficiency, how do they deal with that? If they don't know that they can go in there and read that, and they can't read it in English, can it be in another language also?
IRS has, we just revamped our website, which is very user-friendly, and we have specific information that's there that's easier for people to actually access on their mobile website or their mobile device. And we have, if you go to IRS.gov, there's an other language feature, which we have.
There you go. So you just punch up other
language and whatever specific language that they have. We have English, Spanish, Creole, Vietnamese, Mandarin, and it would give them information like I was discussing about online setting up an installment agreement.
Yeah. Let me ask you another question. Someone owes $10,000 or whatever the number is. Can they come in and make a deal with the IRS and maybe bump that down, or maybe pay a smaller amount in full? They have deals like that at the IRS? You hear a lot of stories like that.
Yes, and actually I could answer that question, because I used to do.
You used to get yours bumped down?
No, tax controversy, and I worked at Low Income Taxpayer Clinic.
Yeah.
So it's basically IRS has a program through its Taxpayer Advocate's office called Low Income Taxpayer Tax Clinics, and they're basically there to serve low income taxpayers who cannot afford representation, right? And if you're able to get their help, they will actually work with taxpayers. And the program that you're talking about is offering compromise. You guys see it in the TV. They say, your IRS 60,000, we could set up for
Do we believe those people on TV? Or is that
no,
legitimate?
actually don't believe it,
Be
but
careful.
actually there is a program through IRS.
There is a program.
It's called offering compromise.
So don't listen to those guys on TV, just go straight to the IRS.
You can or your representatives. I mean, it depends on helping you, representing you.
Okay.
Sometimes, especially with immigrant population, there are a lot of scammers out there. They're
Yeah.
using that headline to
Yeah.
get people in and charge you this enormous fees and still stick the taxpayers with all the debts. But the IRS through LITC program has that program. If you qualify, you could get the help and representation, and they do help you actually settle your tax debt because of your situation. But each
I'm using the wrong word, deals. That's
it's
not
all
a
right,
deal.
compromise. You
It's
could
a
settle
compromise.
Your tax debt if you met the criteria, but you
Yes.
got to meet the criteria. Just because your neighbor Bob Jones got this deal does not mean you're going to get the same deal.
Yeah.
It's tailored to that particular individual.
And Stanley, when you're in business, how important is it to?
This is
have
very
all
important.
your
I think one
taxes
of the
under
real
control?
highlights is that we work with a lot of business owners, and we have enrolled agents that work with the SBDC. We have different programs that work with the SBDC, with the Bronx community, that offer services, and including some of our tax professionals.
Yeah.
I think it's important. What happens is there's a fear of approaching any government agency, particularly for that immigrant entrepreneur. And so we got to bring down that trust. So this public advocate that works with these folks will actually work with them to mitigate certain circumstances. You get a letter and you're afraid to deal with it, or how do you deal with certain tax issues? And as we begin to change the tax laws, one of the things I want to advocate is how do you take advantage and understand the tax laws? We're getting ready to have some tax changes right now. How do we benefit from that? It's not just for the wealthy, it's for the whole population. So my job at the SBDC is to help small businesses understand the tax codes. When they have a tax issue, either find an enrolled agent, a public advocate, or someone that can work with you, and not be afraid to approach and deal with the situation.
Yeah.
And in my area, what we do is we educate the leaders. We want to work with the small business development centers, the practitioners, the leaders in the community to educate them on IRS tax law updates so that way they can disseminate that information to the public. So we hold forums, we hold webinars that we invite people to attend.
Yeah.
That way they can go back to the community and educate them. Like you were talking about the Orphan Compromise Program. If you go to IRS.gov, a wealth of information, it actually walks you through it, what forms you need to complete, what makes you eligible. So all that is really available on IRS.gov.
Do you have something coming up where people can gather all under one roof to learn about a lot of what you're talking
it's
about?
this one.
Yeah.
Okay, Claire.
Well, we're very proud to announce that on the 28th of September, which is next Thursday actually, right here in the Music Building, we're hosting an event.
Where's that music building?
And Lima College, the campus of Lima College. Okay, and it's called a Problem Solving Day. And they're going to actually have folks you can actually sit down and bring your problems to and talk about them. That particularly, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I want to emphasize one thing about this particular program. This program is geared or is for the immigrant population.
Yes.
So we invited the head of the I10 unit. I10 stands for Individual Tax Identification Number for non-residents who cannot get Social Security number, right? They could come there and get help that they need. Just because I also wanted to let people know that there's been a recent change in law that affects immigrants because long time ago when you were issued an I10 number, it was yours to keep. But the recent changes in law now it requires the taxpayers to use that number 3 consecutive years. If you don't use it, it expires. So when
wow.
you need it,
Yeah.
you cannot use that number because it's no longer valid.
And what's the number for again?
It's called I10 number.
The I10 number.
Individual tax ID number for non-immigrants, meaning people who cannot
And
apply
you
for
use it
social.
to do your taxes or
Right.
to deal with the
Yes.
IRS.
Because there's some withholding, or sometimes they pay U.S. income tax, right? For one of the better example, maybe I could tell you, like people come, from China and other places. They go to casinos, they win, then there's automatic withholding, right? 30%.
Yeah.
So if they want to apply for some of the refunds, they have to use an I10 number to claim it. I mean, there are other uses for I10, but
Sure.
that's just one example. But without that number, you cannot claim or file forms, right? Or if you have a filing requirement because maybe you had wages here in the United States
Yeah.
and you're subject to that reporting requirement, you have to use I10 number to file.
Let me ask you one question. If you think you have a discrepancy on your IRS forms or you think you paid too much, how far can you go back to make that to correct what you think is a discrepancy?
You can go back up to 6 years.
6 years. You can go
Okay.
back 6 years.
And yes.
So there may be money that people can get.
Right.
if you
Well,
go
up
back
to
6 years.
3 years in terms of claiming it with the audit process and reopening it and submitting the applicable documentation.
Yeah.
I wanted to comment on what Eunkyong was saying
Sure.
about the I10. Yes, the I10 unit, Sharon Bradley from the I10 unit, she will be a part of our events
Oh,
that
great.
we're having. We're having a 3-day event.
Yeah.
And we're having for the 26th, and she's coming with her staffers
Mm-hmm.
to actually go about also inviting other practitioners to become acceptance agents. Acceptance agents are individuals or practitioners that actually help or serve as a conduit in the community between the people and IRS and actually processing the W-7 application. That is the application that makes individuals obtain an I10 number. And we're talking about with this renewal with the PATH Act, as Eunkyong was showing, that individuals that have not used the number in the last 3 years, those numbers would be deactivated. So we're talking about numbers 70, 71, 72, and 80. If individuals have not used those numbers in the last 3 years, those numbers will be deactivated as of December 31st
And then
this
they
year.
have to go through a whole lot to get it back.
Right. So we're trying to promote early
Yeah.
in the game that this is something that they actually can do. And also what we're trying to make people aware when we have this event, we will have people from the VITA program, that's Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. These are individuals that prepare tax returns for free. And they actually can go to IRS website, which they could look up the criteria for VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, so that perhaps during the filing season, they can go to one of the locations and have their tax returns prepared for free.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And once again, where's this function again?
Well, it's going to be at
Yeah,
Lehman
26th
College
through
in the
the
music
28th.
building on at 9:30 in the morning, and
What's
it's
that
free.
address?
250 Bedford Park Boulevard West. Okay.
I also wanted to highlight, this is a combined effort from the IRS, state, and local. So any local issues too, we are going to be there with the city to inform the participants about different programs that are available through the city and different tax administration. And for small business, we actually created like little cheat sheet, like flashcard,
Right.
front and back, educating or listing all the different requirements for small business owners. So we hope to share some of those resources with people who are there.
Now we have most of this information right upstairs in the Small Business Development Center, and we work very closely with these agencies. So
Excellent.
anyone with an issue should give us a call.
They can go to, what's the number to that?
718-960-8806.
And they can also go to a website. Can they go
our
to your
website.
website?
IRS.gov has us on their website.
Yes, we have
You have
them
everything
because
there.
Clarence, we want to partner with practitioners, SBDCs, in order for them to reach out to the public, and we're trying to make an awareness that IRS has a wealth of information and resources that's free, such as tax centers that give information for small businesses as well as for individuals.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
From September the 26th through the 28th, a series of programs will take place for taxpayers with limited English proficiency, and that's going to be on that website again,
Well, IRS.gov.
Right. and
irs.gov.
During that time, we will have our Taxpayer Advocate, which will work cases for people that have problems with the IRS, as well as we will be providing services on resources that are available to make people with up-to-date information about IRS.gov.
All right, give them a big round of applause, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, we have to take a quick break. Thank you guys, by
Thanks,
the way.
Alvin.
Very much. We have to take a quick break, but coming up next, we'll sit down with a powerful woman in the media world. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.